Dangerous like I'm a mad gorilla. I am sicker than a salmonella filled sandwich dinner, homie. I will kill a beat a man. I'm iller than a caterpillar, chilling, having cigarettes while I dish in a wonderland. I'm realer than a kid with an imaginary.
Yo, what up, Door Squad? Nonsense, aka Door Genius, aka Chris Nonsense, aka. Now, y'all already know what it is. Pretty much, we are a live music reaction and review show. Welcome to That Dorky Review Show, and this is the review of Fantastic. First steps. This is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen the film yet, get your butt to the theater right now. Go watch it. Come back. Let me know what you guys think about the film in the comments.
Hold my beer.
This version of the Fantastic Four takes place in a universe where there are no other heroes. They pretty much are the first and essentially at this moment the last, right? The world loves them for what they've done over the years, saving them countless time from a lot of other villains and, you know, disasters. They're pretty much their world's savior. So this was pretty much Marvel's not only first time finally being able to bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU, but also ironically their first time setting a movie outside of the MCU, so to speak, or whatnot, right? They're in their own retro futuristic kind of, you know, alternate dimension. Of course, they skip the origin story. They also skip the beginning crawl that we're used to. We get straight to business. We're already essentially in the Baxter building, you know, being introduced to Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm in the midst of a conversation that eventually reveals that Sue is, you know, pregnant, and then pretty much the movie starts, you know, from there. So Marvel skips the origin story this time, but still gives us a recap of who the Fantastic Four are, right? It's their first real intro into the MCU, and man, the world they dropped us into, it's entirely stunning. It's retro, futuristic. Everything is clean and new, yet also somehow old school. Honestly, it felt like I was watching a Marvel movie for the very first time again. New universe, new vibe. You can tell this film was handled with real care. The balance of serious moments and comedy, spot on. Every actor nailed it, but Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, Reed, and Sue, standouts. Of course, they have to be. They are the Fantastic Four, right? You know, it feels like equal parts TVA and Captain America, you know, first Avenger, you know, timeline. Right after finding out that Sue is pregnant, you know, sent over dinner, they start seeing something kind of going on in the sky, which is essentially the start of, you know, Silver Surfer, you know, coming to prepare the planet for Galactus, right? Everybody's like, what the hell is this? What's happening? She kind of tells, you know, the planet that they are doomed to be eaten.
I'm going to eat you.
The way they use their powers, even in everyday scenes, was really cool. Like having Sue Storm show that baby inside her belly, like kind of giving herself a personal ultrasound. So being able to like make her stomach kind of go invisible, yet being able to see inside, like that was cool. Having Johnny Storm essentially be a light when the power went off in the Baxter building during experiments. We got to talk about Franklin Richards, right? Not only his first debut in any of the Fantastic Four films, but you know, I'm glad they're keeping with sort of how things were in the comics, right? If you know, you know. But Franklin is probably the most powerful, you know, mutant essentially in the MCU, right? He can create pocket universes and so many things or whatnot. Like in a fight between him and Scarlet Witch, You know, like it come pretty close, but I think I may have to give it to Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just very different. You'll sort of see depending on what they do, of course. You know what I'm saying, going forward or whatnot. But really cute. I'm assuming a lot of women are gonna want to take him home, but can't because he's in the movie and a real baby. Galactus finally not a cloud this time, like bruh. I am so glad that technology has advanced to the point where we're starting to get closer to what really does look like the physical representations of the characters that we know and love, even when it's something as big as, you know, Galactus. We are, of course, often worried on how they're going to do certain things, because I mean, Galactus was gonna be a long shot, you know what I'm saying, as is. Like he has, you know, he hovers essentially over, you know, planets, you know, often in the comics and stuff. So to see and try to decipher how big they were gonna make him, you know, in the movies, like that's always something we wanted to see. And I'm still wondering if he is able to grow and change in size. He did at one point in the movie say, "I used to be your size," and then
I was once little like you, billions of years ago.
And he goes into this whole story. But man, seeing Galactus essentially towering over the city, actually eating planets, seeing him in his full glory, looking and sounding as he does. There were no MCU cameos. More or less everything was more a Fantastic Four, you know, cameos from the comics, you know what I'm saying, cartoons, different things like that. A lot of the villains that they fought at the beginning were a lot of villains we hadn't been able to see in that live action, because they always had to, you know, pull from something a little bit bigger. Sue pulling Galactus with her force field, that was like a mom lifting a car off of her kid, right? You know that saying where they say, you know what I'm saying, like a mom can muster up the strength in, you know, moments like that. That was the equivalent of that, because knowing how big that Galactus is, her being able to pull her strength together. At one point, he just yanked it. He yanked it, forced it away. She said, "Nah, F that," because he's essentially at that point, you know, has Franklin. I loved seeing the Fantastic Four go back and forth into space, and to really do a lot of what we know them for. We finally got to see them back again as an actual family, right? It's something that I do feel like was missing from the last Fantastic Four. I know that they wanted to give it a little bit of a younger sort of like touch. There were some interesting choices there, but there's just always a better way to, you know, do things. In terms of the plot, right? Blending the duality of Sue dealing with her, you know, pregnancy, and basically about to have you know, Franklin, and then being thrust into having to save the world. And within that context, Galactus saying, "I will spare your planet if you give me your baby." You know, like that's a problem, like, you know, I think no mother would ever have to or want to deal with, but I think every mother would make this same choice of like, nah, you ain't taking my baby. But then having to go through a lot of that stress, and then coming back, right? Not having defeated Galactus at that freaking point, coming back and basically having to tell the world they didn't defeat him yet. Literally coming back with the baby, right? They had the baby in space, but coming back essentially with Franklin. He offered to spare their planet if they gave up Franklin so that he could utilize the power cosmic within him, so that he wouldn't continue to be hungry and have to eat planets like he's been doing it for pretty much, you know, eons. Wants to go to sleep. He wants to go to sleep, apparently. Apparently, John Malkovich's role was cut, but honestly, I don't know why. I could have seen in the scene where they pretty much fight all the previous, you know, villains and stuff like that, I feel like they literally could have thrown him, you know, in there, but maybe they want to utilize him and wait for another potential film. I like the idea of a pregnancy coupled with a cosmic apocalypse, essentially, right? The retro design, 1960s tech, vibrant production design. Their solution to basically defeat Galactus is essentially not to defeat him, because they realize they don't have the power, the means to do so, at least in this current, you know, time. So the first thought is like, let's move the planet, you know what I'm saying? Let's try to, you know, transfer the planet to, you know, another, you know, place in space or dimension, you know what I'm saying? So it'll take forever trying to get back to us or something like that. And at the beginning of the film, he was experimenting on, you know, trying to transfer one object to another place or whatnot. So you know that that's something, you know, he was going to, you know, try to bring back in at some point, you know, in the film. When they get basically the entire world together to build bridge points so that they can get enough power, and they have to do so much, right? Like get everybody to turn all of the power off on the entire planet at the same time so they can use the juice to sort of like power, you know, the grids and stuff. After doing all that, right when it's in the final countdown to where they're gonna, you know, activate and move the planet, you know, Silver Surfer pops up and just destroys every single one of the nodes, essentially. And you know, you go, oh man, you know, it kind of sucks, right? From that point, they move on to, let's see if we can, like, I guess, trick Galactus into coming to a certain, you know, point or spot, and then pushing him through that wormhole so that he, you know, gets transferred instead of the planet. Sue Storm, you know, after she has exhausted herself, pretty much she ends up, you know, dying legit. And we thought she was dead, right? The whole audience is like, oh my god, it's just like silent, because like we're like, no way, man, you know what I'm saying? Then of course, at some point they put baby Franklin on her just to, you know, almost kind of like say goodbye within the moment. And I guess he, while touching her and crying, kind of seeing that she's dead, you know, uses the power cosmic to bring her back to life. And so that's when you really see how powerful that you know, he is or whatnot. If he can just, you know, bring people back from the dead, essentially, you know, that's pretty powerful, right? All that. And honestly, man, it feels good to see, you know, this version. You know, I feel like Marvel is brave to be, you know, different, you know, to pull a lot of different comic elements and just to try to give us, you know, something different, fresh, yet also very much, you know, of the comics. Everything that you see in this movie comes, you know, pretty much from a comic, and you know, holds one-to-one, you know what I'm saying, true. And I appreciate this, man. This movie, you can tell that there was so much love that went into it. And so, you know, Marvel, thank you. Now, if you could just put this much love into every single project that you do, but there's always cool moments in every film that do, you know, kind of warrant, you know, you watching a lot of different scenes again or whatnot. Like in Dark World, I love the sort of when they were going through the portals and the different fight scenes, planes were coming through, going through, you know, different places and stuff like that. So I loved just like that aspect. Marvel is always good at sort of making their fight scenes, you know, fun. But I'm hoping that they can continue to stick the landing with pretty much everything after this point. This, of course, begins this new phase that we're in, and we'll see what happens with Doomsday and Secret Wars. Spider-Man is also gonna be around the corner soon as well. You know, we'll have a Punisher show. We'll have a lot of other things, you know what I'm saying, going on. So that's what's up. Listen, this is my first actual full movie review. There are elements that I, do want to hash out a little bit better, but I appreciate you guys, watching. I don't have a score kind of freaking system, just freaking yet or whatnot. But honestly, if I 10 out of 10 dorkies, you know what I'm saying? 10 out of 10. Listen, we often review music Monday through Friday, sometimes, of course, on the weekends, from independent artists and more. If you guys ever have suggestions of things you would like me to review, both movies, TV shows, video games, and music, always leave it in the comments. Send me an email, thatdorkyreviewshow@gmail.com. And send us stuff during our lives and stuff. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys get out and watch this film yourself, but it was indeed amazing.
I'm dangerous like I'm a mad gorilla. I am sicker than a salmonella filled sandwich dinner, homie. I will kill a beat a man. I'm iller than a caterpillar, chilling, having cigarettes while I live in a wonderland. I'm realer than a kid within a magic.